Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loki here. Join me today as we work with miniature hosta. So let's go. You may be wondering, wait, what? Miniature hosta? I'm not making it up. There is such a thing. Did you know hosta come in lots of different sizes, starting with miniature, then small, medium, large, extra large, and even giant hosta? A lot of people don't talk about miniature hosta, and a lot of stores don't sell miniature hosta. One miniature hosta that I do see quite often at local garden centers is called blue mouse ears. But that's just one of many miniature hosta that are out there. They're considered a little bit of a specialty plant, and if you want to buy miniature hosta, you usually have to go online and get them delivered to you. I first heard about miniature hosta through my late mother-in-law. She had them in her garden, and after she passed away, I had taken small pieces of the miniature hosta from her garden and I brought them to my garden. And I didn't know where to put them in my garden because honestly, they were so small and I didn't want them to get lost. I put a lot of them around my pond, which I have in my front yard. And then other miniature hosta got tucked into my shade garden, which is in my backyard. Most of us know that in order for hosta to thrive and do well, they usually should be in a part shade to full shade location. However, there are some hosta that will do okay in a sunny location. Those hosta usually have a yellow, chartreuse, or golden color leaf, and the leaf is thicker and heavier. For those sunny locations, you definitely want to avoid putting blue colored leaves or leaves that have a white variegation to them out in the full sun. And the reason is if you do that, you might find that the leaves begin to scorch. In general, wherever you place your hosta, be it in the sun or the shade, you want to make sure that those hosta are always getting a good amount of water. The soil should be well drained as well as rich in organic matter. If you're interested in finding out which hostas can tolerate sun or which hostas are classified as miniature hostas, do an internet search. There are actually quite a few reputable websites that will give you more information. So now that I've educated you a little bit about those topics, the reason I wanted to make this video is I have a project that I want to work on. It's in my front yard right near my pond. And I have a problem, so let's head out there and I'm going to show you what the problem is. Here we are at the front of my house, and this is what I call my front walkway. There are a bunch of different plants on both sides of the walkway, and what I'll do is put a link to a video that I have of a garden tour, just in case you're wondering what are some of the plants that we see here. But as we continue up along the front walkway, you start to see that there's a small little pond. And around the pond are a bunch of plants. There are mostly miniature hosta. There are some other plants that are tucked in here, and I'll go over them in a little more detail. But I just want to give you at a high level what's going on here. You can see that some hosta look better than other hosta. And then there are other plants mixed in that are not hosta plants. And as we go around the pond, you can see another small hosta tucked in there. It's not a terribly large pond, but the reason I tucked the hosta around this pond was they're small and I thought that they would look so cute, so dainty, just being on the outer skirt of the pond here. In this space that I'm standing in, it looks shady right now, but this area in fact gets quite a bit of sun later in the afternoon. There used to be 3 small leaf rhododendrons. This past spring, my husband and I removed those from this area. The reason we removed them was because they were getting so big in size and it was becoming quite a chore to size control them year after year. To be honest with you, it really wasn't the best placement for those rhododendrons. However, what I learned this year was those rhododendrons were actually providing a nice amount of shade to the hosta plants that were around my pond. So for many years, those small little hosta plants thrived and did very well. This was the first year that I noticed that those miniature hosta were struggling. Since I didn't buy these plants originally, and I got these from my mother-in-law's, I'm going to do the best I can with naming them. I'm almost sure the name of this is Mighty Mouse. And you can see it has basically a yellow color trim or margin on the outside of the leaves, and then the center of the leaves is a green color. When I feel the leaves, I can tell that they are very, very thick. And I want you to notice, overall, they look very nice. It's not like there's a ton of burn on the leaves, just a tiny bit. So I feel that this is a winner still, even though this area is getting quite a bit of sun. I think they still look good, and I want to keep this hosta around the pond. There's a lot going on here. We have some Mighty Mouse over here and the Mighty Mouse over there that I already showed you. But I want you to focus on this hosta right here. It does not look good. I'm going to zoom in so you can take a closer look at it. It used to be so pretty for many years, and this was the first year that it just suffered so bad. I'm almost positive the name of this hosta is called Pandora's Box. It's another miniature hosta, and it should be much more beautiful than this. What I will do is pop up on the screen what it should look like. Since it's struggling in this area, I will be digging up, dividing, and potting up each of these hosta plants. There are some other plants that I'll be digging up and potting up as well. For example, this one here, there's a little seedling right over here of this plant. This is called English Lawn Daisy. And these were just seedlings that appeared because I used to have English Lawn Daisy on the other side of this pond. Another seedling that's going to be dug up and potted up is right here. And I have plenty of this all around my pond. This is a seedling of the great blue lobelia. In fact, if we just move this way, I want to show you a big seedling right here. So any seedlings that I find of great blue lobelia will be dug up and will be removed. And I'm just going to be potting them up. Okay, so let's keep on going. Another plant that has seen better days, and it actually can usually tolerate sun. But to be honest with you, I don't like the look of it. Like if you look at it right next to the Mighty Mouse, I just think that they're competing with foliage. I don't think it's a nice look. This is called Dwarf Lady's Mantle. I love this plant. I think it's very pretty, but I'm going to be digging it up. I'm going to divide it. I'm going to pot it up, and I'd like to see this in other areas of my yard. But that's going to be for a different day, and I don't know where it's going to go. For that reason, that's why I'm going to be potting up a bunch of my plants and not just placing them somewhere else in my yard. So again, we have the Dwarf Lady's Mantle, Mighty Mouse. I don't know the name of this miniature hosta, and I also don't know the name of this miniature hosta. Nevertheless, I can tell you that they both are going to get removed. And it's a shame because they both used to look so pretty around the pond. In fact, this one here, if you look in the center, it has a little bit of a blue color to it. But they are struggling. They don't look good, so they need to be removed. Right next door to this hosta here that's going to get removed, I want you to see the color on this one here. Now, this is called Lakeside Zinger. I have a lot of this hosta in my backyard. In fact, I used to have Lakeside Zinger around my pond, a lot of Lakeside Zinger, and I removed it. And I think it's looking very good, even though it's surrounded by a bunch of weeds and things like that. I don't think it's being shaded by this plant here. So I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to leave this in here, and I'm going to add more of the Lakeside Zinger around the pond. Many of the hosta that we've looked at and I've discussed repeat themselves around the pond. We're just going to have to wait and see next year how the Mighty Mouse hosta end up doing, because there are some Mighty Mouse hosta that don't look good in certain parts around the pond, and then other areas of the pond, the Mighty Mouse look better. I have a small bucket, so as I dig up plants, I'm just going to be placing them and tucking them in pretty tightly into this bucket. Part of gardening is making adjustments because things change over time. You might have a full sun flower bed that is now becoming shade because of some trees in the area. Or you might have a shady flower bed that has now become a full sunflower bed because you had some trees or shrubs removed. And there are so many other situations that can happen when it comes to our gardens. You might have a plant that has survived for years, but unfortunately for lots of different reasons, it could be that you had a very harsh winter, let's say. Suddenly that plant dies. And we can get upset about it, or we can try to fight the situation, or we can embrace the situation and view it as opportunity. I like showing you what I'm doing in my garden, issues I'm running into, how I'm changing it. The purpose of today's video is not necessarily to show you the beginning and ending of this project, because this is going to be a tedious project. It's more just to show you the problem that I ran into, a solution, and also I really wanted to just introduce you to the world of miniature hosta because I found a lot of people have never heard of miniature hosta. And I also wanted to let you know that there are definitely some hosta that can tolerate more sun, whereas there are other kinds of hosta that definitely cannot. Right now I'm mixing all the plants in this bucket, and I will deal with it later when it comes to dividing and potting up those plants. What I'll do is add a layer of soil in here, and then I can tuck in all the plants nice and neat and water them and keep them in shade. We have some rain coming over the next few days, which is great because we need it. And then at my leisure, in a shady area where it's under cover, I can then start potting up these plants. One thing I want to try next year is I do want to do more container gardening. I already do a lot of container gardening, but especially with shade plants. And I want to try some of these miniature hosta in container pots. To be honest with you, I've been wanting to do that for a long time. And if I have these dug up and in small little 3 or 4 inch pots, then I can basically shop my nursery next year and start doing some really fun projects with these miniature hosta. I'm using a small hand shovel because I do have a lot of drip irrigation, like right here in this flower bed. So it's just better for me to be using a small hand shovel to do this job. Might as well do some basic weeding while we're at it. When we removed the rhododendrons in the spring, I didn't notice a major difference in terms of the hosta around the pond. But as the season progressed, and it was a very hot summer for us here in New Hampshire, not only that, it was a very dry summer, but that shouldn't have mattered because I do have drip irrigation in here. But it was really the heat as well as the sun. So much sun was coming into this area. So as the season progressed, that's when I started noticing these hosta did not look good. And it's funny because sometimes it's not obvious. I had to really think hard. Why? Why were these hosta not looking good? And the first thing I thought was, oh, maybe my drip irrigation wasn't working. But then I thought a little bit harder. And I said, no, that's not it. It's because these hosta are getting a lot more sun. One idea I'm also playing around with when it comes to what to plant around this pond is maybe I just do a bunch of sun-loving annuals. Wouldn't that look pretty? So I will give the Mighty Mouse hosta 1 year, next year, to see how they really do. And if they're struggling, then they'll come out, and that will be okay. But what I'd like to see happen is I will be coming in and digging out almost all the plants from around the pond except for the Mighty Mouse hosta. And I'll also leave that small patch of the Lakeside Zinger. I may divide some of the Mighty Mouse hosta and move them around in these areas that are going to be opened up. And I can also go shopping in my backyard and bring in some more of the Lakeside Zinger. But then I also want to leave little pockets available for some short annuals that I can start from seed and I can tuck around my pond next year. Just to add some color, and we might as well take advantage of the fact that this area now gets sun. So we can put in some sun-loving plants. Another thing I could possibly do is add some spring blooming bulbs around my pond. I wouldn't want to add a lot because there's not a lot of space around the pond. But I could potentially add some, and that might look pretty as well. So I'm actually excited about the opportunities of things I can try in here. I want to show you that when I do pot these up, I will be dividing them. I might as well, so I would just be pulling them apart like that, because each of these will be its own plant. I had researched miniature hosta and the prices, and they're actually very, very expensive. It's ridiculous how expensive they are. And I did want to mention that because here I am saying miniature hosta are great and you should look into it. But when you start looking into it, I don't want you, my channel is all about gardening on a budget. I have to throw that out there that they can be kind of pricey, but they're unique, they're different. And I think they're a fun plant to have, especially if you like to collect plants and unique plants, such as, I feel like this is even unique. I don't see it a lot in garden centers. My Dwarf ladies mantle came from a friend of mine. I bought it from her backyard plant nursery. And I love it. I think it's great. It's just not doing the best around the pond. And I need time. I need time to think about where I'm going to put this. So I can always divide it, pot them up, and then I'll end up with more plants to shop from my nursery for next year. So I'm open to ideas and suggestions on annuals or perennials that you think I should be putting around my pond for next year. I also want to know if you have miniature hosta or if you've ever tried miniature hosta. Again, the blue mouse ears, a lot of people have heard, or a lot of people have. I have a lot of it in my backyard. It's very pretty. It's probably the most common miniature hosta that's out there. When I do my next garden tour, I will definitely bring you around the pond and I will show you how it looks, because like I said, today's video is not for me to start and finish this project with you. I'm going to do it at my leisure. I have a lot of potting up that I need to do, but my main goal, like I said, was to show you this area, talk about a problem, what my solution is, to introduce you to miniature hostas, but then to also let you know that there are some hosta that can do okay in sun. Not all hosta can, but there are certain attributes that you should be looking for when it comes to hosta that can do okay in a sunny situation. For each of the plants that I'm digging up today, I'm going to be dividing them to single plants and I'm going to be potting them up in 3 or 4 inch containers. They're going to get healed into the ground for the winter months in my plant nursery, or they might get healed into a raised bed. I'm not quite sure at this point. And healing in a plant is a way of protecting the roots so that the plant survives during the cold winter months. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to show you what this looks like come next year. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.